Hello, Outperformers. Let's talk about one of the latest areas that I've been geeking out on in terms of psychological research, and it is about the concept of enclothed cognition. And I know that probably sounds geeky, and I am in a lot of ways a geek, but what it basically is it's the premise that what we wear has a massive impact on our thoughts and ultimately our feelings and our actions or our behaviors. And some of the studies that I've been reading lately, like I just came across one from the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology, and it talked about enclothed cognition being the systematic influence that clothes have on wearers' psychological processes. It says a few more things, but it proposes that enclothed cognition involves the co-occurrence of two independent factors: the symbolic meaning of the clothes and the physical experience of actually wearing them. And I know that probably sounds like a mittful, but those two things, if you are able to wrap your head around this, it is one of the fastest ways to improve performance. It is the symbolic meaning of the clothes and the physical experience, of actually wearing them. So when we look at something like this, like one of the studies they did in this Journal of Experimental Social Psychology, they took people and separated them out into three different groups. One group wore a painter's coat. Another group wore a doctor's coat. Another group simply looked at a doctor's coat. And you can probably guess which one performed the best in terms of which one had better focus, better decision making, was more attentive, and just performed better all around. It was the group wearing the doctor's coat. So the group that wore the painter's coat, you should think, well, a coat is a coat. And if it doesn't really matter if a coat's a coat and that's the thing improving my performance, what does it really matter? Well, the painter's coat had no symbolic meaning, as far as it's so ingrained in our psychology that when I wear a white lab coat, or if I'm going to wear a white lab coat, it means that I'm attentive, I make better decisions, I'm more focused, I'm more kind of commanding and sure of myself. And those psychological processes come from the symbolic meaning of actually wearing something. And the other group, the one that just looked at the doctor's coat, this is where it's different than, well, I can't just necessarily look at something, because there is power in the enclothed part of the enclothed cognition, where if you actually wear something and you feel it on your skin and you're enclothed by that, it has a much bigger impact on your performance. And quite honestly, this is no different than a really high-level athlete putting on a game day uniform, where when they put on that uniform, they know it's game day. And then they go out, and because they put on that game day uniform, they start to think differently, they start to feel differently, they start to behave differently, and they start to perform better because their brain makes that association as far as the symbolic meaning of the game day uniform and what it ultimately does for them. So I hear from people, and in our psychology these days, we're always looking for kind of quick fixes, right? Like, what's a tool that I can put in my toolbox to help me perform better immediately? And especially, I think, in this day and age, it's one of the things that I've talked to a lot of my coaching clients, and a lot of the presentations that I've given have been around how do we perform better remotely, right? Because the home has become the home office. And a lot of times it can be easy, unless we're on, let's say, a Zoom video call, to not wear the same things in the home office that we used to wear in our regular office. And there is power to actually wearing the same thing that our brain associates with a certain level of performance. So what I would tell you to just, again, quick and easy to be able to do this is to go in your closet and to look at, is there a certain shirt, sport coat, dress, anything else that you remember wearing where you said, I just nailed that presentation or that proposal. I remember when I had to get up and I had to lead this team meeting and I was wearing this thing. Whatever that happens to be, then wear it again anytime that you want to perform better, because that has symbolic meaning. When I wore this, I did that. And again, it's a simple, quick, fast, easy way to be able to do it. If you go into your closet and if you can't necessarily find anything where you say, you know what, I remember giving this proposal, this presentation, or leading this meeting when I was wearing that, whatever it happens to be for you professionally. If you don't have something, well, if you have something important coming up, choose your piece of apparel carefully and then wear that. Chances are you're going to go out, you're going to outperform. And what I want you to do is create the association of remembering that when I wore this, I did that. And then it'll kickstart that kind of chain reaction, and you can start it from that point forward. But just the part of the enclothed cognition, it's part of a larger field of psychology called embodied cognition, basically where the body affects our brain and affects our psychological processes. But it's a massively impactful thing, and it's a super fast way for us to be able to improve our performance. Have a great day.